Hey, welcome. So, how do you make a real, profound, lasting change in your life? I mean, we're always looking to the latest gurus, right? But today, we're going to turn back the clock, way back, like 1600 years back. We're going to dive into a guide for transformation from a man whose words were so powerful, so moving, they called him the golden mouthed preacher. And his whole path to change? Well, it starts with a really surprising question.
Can sorrow actually lead to joy? I mean, right away, this seems to break every rule we know about the pursuit of happiness. It just sounds completely backwards. But for our ancient guide, this isn't some riddle. Nope, it's the key. It's the very thing that unlocks the door to true transformation. So, who is this guide? His name is John Chrysostom. He lived all the way back in the 4th century, and he was the Bishop of Constantinople. And get this, his sermons were so incredibly eloquent, so insightful, that people later gave him the name Chrysostomos, which is just Greek for golden-mouthed. But he wasn't just a great speaker. He was a deep, profound psychologist of the human soul. Chrysostom basically built his entire philosophy of change on this one famous, and let's be honest, pretty counterintuitive line. He argued that true, lasting joy, it isn't found by trying to avoid sorrow. It's found by embracing a very, very specific kind of it. And this isn't about being miserable for the sake of it. It's about being radically honest with ourselves. Okay, so how in the world does this work? How can sorrow possibly lead to joy? Well, it all comes down to a single, powerful concept that Chrysostom saw as the engine, the literal engine of all genuine change. That idea is compunction. Now, I know it's a word we really don't use much anymore, but for Chrysostom, this was everything. Compunction is that sharp, almost stinging feeling of remorse you get when you really honestly compare who you are with who you want to be, with your highest ideals. But, and this is so crucial, it's not self-hatred. He called it a holy stimulus. It's like a sacred nudge, pushing you gently to become better. And Chrysostom was super clear about this. Not all sadness is the same. He said there are two kinds. First, you've got worldly sadness. He literally called this a poison-squirting worm that just leads to despair, makes you want to give up. But then there's the ascetic and holy sorrow of compunction. This kind doesn't crush you. It cleanses you. It purifies you. This is the sorrow that leads to joy. So, let's say we feel this holy sorrow, this compunction. Okay, now what? What do we actually do with it? This is where Chrysostom gets incredibly practical. He gives us a roadmap, a literal how-to guide with 6 distinct paths to turn that inner feeling into real, concrete, life-altering action. And here they are, the 6 paths of what he called penitence, which was really just true conversion. First, confession of our faults. Then, contrition, that deep, heartfelt sorrow. Third, humility, a genuine recognition of where we really stand. Fourth, almsgiving, which is really about showing mercy to other people. Fifth, consistent prayer. And finally, a different kind of fasting, not just from food, but a fasting of the heart and eyes from all that negativity and vice out there. This quote right here, wow. It just shows you the depth of what he meant by things like humility and mercy. Chrysostom is saying that true change means putting love for your neighbor above your own honor, above your need to be right. It's a radical call to just let go of your ego for the sake of connecting with another person. But why? Why go through this whole challenging process? I mean, it sounds really hard, right? For Chrysostom, the goal was never, ever about self-punishment. No, it was about preparing your soul for something infinitely bigger, something so much greater. He makes a promise. He says that the bitterness of letting go of all those old habits and illusions, it is more than compensated for, even right here on earth. The reward is the sweetness of what he calls union with the good, a deep, profound connection to a purpose and a love that's so much bigger than ourselves. And the end of this journey, it's not quiet contentment. It's an explosion of joy. Writing from exile, Chrysostom described this ultimate state as a living and almost crazy passion, sweet as honey. He said this is the true source of all lasting joy. This is where that path of holy sorrow ultimately leads. So, okay, a 1600-year-old guide. What on earth does this have to do with us today, right now. Well, his challenge is arguably more relevant than ever. It speaks directly to some of the biggest problems we're facing in our modern world. Just think about it. His teachings offer a real response to a world without remorse, where nobody seems to want to take accountability. They speak to the failure of modern ideals, where all the things we chase can leave us feeling so empty. And his call for personal responsibility and mercy, that's a powerful alternative in a world so full of injustice. What he's offering is an inner path to creating real outer change. So, if we just boil it all down, the key takeaway is this. Chrysostom's timeless wisdom suggests that maybe, just maybe, we've been looking for change in all the wrong places. We're always chasing that next hit of fleeting pleasure when real transformation might just begin with the courage to face ourselves honestly, to embrace that holy sorrow that ultimately leads to a kind of joy that nothing and no one can ever take away. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In a culture that is absolutely obsessed with happiness, with quick fixes, with avoiding any and all discomfort, what if the most radical, and maybe the most effective, path to a truly joyful life begins not by running away from our sorrow, but by walking straight through it?